Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to a live Manchester United news show. And I do apologise about the delays, but about 4 stories have dropped in the last few minutes. I just wanted to add it to the slide so we're all up to date. I don't know if there's a bit of briefing going on because there's been a lot of negativity lately. All the positivity at the beginning of the window when we got Xerxes and Euro done quick has kind of been sucked out with the last 3 weeks of sort of nothing. We can't sell, we can't buy. We've now had stories drop that there will be 2 signings coming in. United expect that. Man United are planning for 3 new signings. Believe that will happen. There's going to be 3 new signings at United. I don't know if it's a brief because there's 2 or 3 sources saying 2 new signings, 3 new signings. They're going to happen. I don't know if it's like a brief because of the negativity to get people positive again. But we are essentially signing another player from Arsenal. So that's quite funny. One sec. Apparently, we've made an offer to Hermoso, who is former Atletico Madrid centre-back, left-footed, to sign him on a 3 for centre-back depth. There's a big update on Fofana. Apparently, it's getting close. Apparently, we're going to sign Fofana and Berge. That is the plan. The Ligt is on, but Mashwari depends on Wan-Bissaka, but we can still get the Ligt if Wan-Bissaka doesn't go, apparently. Anthony to stay. Anthony speaks out on his future. I mean, there's a lot of info coming out at the moment. Some of it I think could be briefs because, this report of, we're getting 3 new signings, 2 new signings, but it's interesting to see what's going on. And I'm going to be honest, apparently we're going to sign this Arsenal star. Apparently we have signed this Arsenal star. I've never heard of the Arsenal star that we've signed. I heard of Obi Martin. I've not heard of this guy. But we're going to have to pretend that this guy's amazing and it's the best signing ever because it's just going to rattle Arsenal fans. I'm just going to pretend that we've signed someone amazing from Arsenal and it's going to be a massive miss to them just to rattle them. Only joking. But let's talk about the stories coming out. So Samuel Luckes came out and said that Manchester United want to make at least 3 more signings in the final 3 weeks of the transfer window. And there was also Dean Jones that came out saying there's a confidence that at least 2 more players will head through the door before the transfer deadline. Manchester United are adamant they will not be held to ransom by the likes of Bayern Munich and PSG, who continue to price their players too high. Sources close to the market say the difference between selling someone like Gallagher and getting rid of United's underperforming batch is that there's a difficulty in proving their true value. But you've got Dean Jones coming out saying that we're going to sign 2 more players. We've got the United district coming out saying we will sign a midfielder, probably 2 midfielders if we can get a sale done, but we will sign 2 players regardless of sales, apparently is what's coming out, and that Man United wants to make 3 more signings. So I'm assuming that Man United are playing for De Ligt and a midfielder regardless of sales, and then if Wan-Bissaka sold, we get Mashwari, and there may be the 3 new signings. De Ligt, Berge, De Ligt, Fofana. We'll talk about the midfield scenario. But obviously, it was said last night, we want 2 midfielders. We will get 1 no matter what, but the second midfield signing will depend on sales. We will talk about McTominay. We will talk about that later on. I don't know if it's a brief thing. I don't know if United are really doing something or really confident. But there is talk of 3 new signings coming in, and confidence, even without sales, of 2 new signings coming in, particularly 1 in midfield, is obviously been reported now as well. So yeah, there is a report about De Ligt doing a hit and run, but I'm going to tell you this now: that's just clickbait. Losing Man United. Apparently, De Ligt accidentally knocked a car when he was reversing out the car park, and he didn't even know he knocked the car. And then it's been spun into this headline of De Ligt doing a hit and run because, De Ligt hits a car. He doesn't know if he's hit a car, reversing out a car park. He doesn't even know. And now De Ligt's done a hit and run, is under investigation. That's how the Daily Mail prints it. So I've not even bothered with that De Ligt story going about because you know what the media's like. When it's a Man United player, they spin these stories as well. But we're going to talk about a few deals. We're going to talk about, obviously, we've got some updates on Eriksen, Sancho, this new goalkeeper, this Hermoso guy, 2 new midfielders coming in, Berge. There's a lot of updates to get through, and I don't want this live show to be particularly long. Oh, one sec. My laptop. One sec, guys. I just got a notification come up saying that my battery was low and my laptop was going to shut down. I thought, what? And I hadn't actually turned my charger on. So that makes absolute sense there. So let's get back into the stories. Let's get back into the news as well. And someone said, who's the Arsenal star? I'm not going to pretend I know who the Arsenal star is, but it is a player that is leaving Arsenal for United. So for the sake of just winding up Arsenal fans, I actually knew who Obi Martin was because he's like an unbelievable baller. But for the sake of winding up Arsenal fans, I'm just going to pretend that this is the best signing ever and we've signed an absolute gem and that it's going to be a massive miss for Arsenal. But going back to Dean Jones' story, there is still a confidence that at least 2 players will head through the door before the transfer deadline. Manchester United are adamant they will not be held by the likes of Bayern Munich and PSG, who continue to price their players too high. Sources close to the market say the difference between selling someone like Gallagher and getting rid of the underperforming batch is that there's a difficulty proving their true value or potential. So the problem Manchester United having at selling is proving the true value and potential of our players. Now, Anthony, I get that. That's a difficult one. Conor Gallagher, I get that he's younger than McTominay and he's been very good for Chelsea and was one of their best players last year. I understand that. I think McTominay, considering the goals and the contributions and what he's done for Scotland and what he's done for United, I think McTominay is easily a £25 million player. I don't think we should have to prove that McTominay is a £25 million player. I think Wan-Bissaka is easily a £15 million player. He's probably one of the few defenders that can lock anyone off in the world on his day. I think that, proving the value of someone like Anthony is difficult. Proving the value of some other players can be difficult. But I think you could look at McTominay and say it's a £25 million player. But apparently the difficulty we have is people can see the value in Gallagher. He was one of Chelsea's best players last season. He's a lot younger than McTominay. I get it. He's hardworking. He does suit what Atletico Madrid want to do. People can't really see the value in some of our players. And apparently that is one of the troubles we're having selling. And to be honest, considering we were shite last season and most of our players were shite last season, I do see that as well. The market determines the value. It's all hypothetical until actual club and bids come in. Exactly. At the end of the day, that's a very good point. And I think we don't know the value of our players for such. But I think, to be honest, when you're seeing Elliot Anderson for 35 million and Conor Gallagher for 35 million, you can get 25 million for Scott McTominay. He gets a lot of goals. He does contribute. We've seen a lot worse players go for a lot more money than Scott McTominay. I think we could get 35 million. So I'd say, to be honest, we could probably get 25 million for Scott McTominay, but Fulham believe he's a 20 million player. And I don't know if that's Fulham believing he's a 20 million player because he's at Manchester United and they think they can get him on the cheap. So they're going to try it. Or Fulham going to come back in and make a 25 million offer and we're going to sell McTominay. Because if we sell McTominay, we bring in 2 midfielders. It's been said, if we sell McTominay, we have the funds to bring in 2 midfielders. And if we bring in 2 midfielders in Ligt, our window looks a lot better. If you bring in Yusuf Fofana, Sander Berge and Matthijs de Ligt and you sell McTominay, we look a lot better. Sander Berge is better than I think a lot of people think, but I'm not going to be 100% convinced going into next season with Sander Berge as our DM. Yusuf Fofana, on the other hand, I like. I want Yusuf Fofana. I've said I've wanted him for a while. If United could go out and sign Yusuf Fofana, that would be absolutely amazing. I like Berge. I don't think Berge is a bad player. I really don't. People say, oh, he's been relegated twice. Oh, yeah, Michael Carrick got relegated. Roy Keane got relegated, and they were great DMs for Manchester United. Okay? I like Sander Berge. I don't think he's a bad player. Do I think he's amazing? Do I think he's going to come in and be the level of Declan Rice or Rodri? Absolutely not. But if we're signing him because we have big plans for a DM next season, like an Adam Wharton or Stiller or whoever's the next hit DM on the market next year, I get it. Liverpool went and got Endo. Now they're going to get Subamendi. I get it. I do think if you've got Berge and Fofana, I'd rather have Berge and Fofana than Agate. I would rather have Berge and Fofana than Agate. I'll say that now. I really like Yusuf Fofana. And I think him and Berge would be two good additions in midfield. But it depends on sales. Fofana is an all-round talent. He looks a bit off the quality on the cheap. Berge not convinced on, says Alex. A lot of people aren't 100% convinced on Berge, and I can get that. Obviously, he's never played for a big club, but I try and look at it and think, well, 6'4", he's good on the ball. When I've watched him play, he's good. He has a lot of touches, a lot of involvement. Burnley player of the season, Players player of the season. He's not someone that I think comes in and elevates us to that next level, but he's someone I think that can do the job. Fofana is a player I really like. Value for money, I think Fofana would be my first midfield choice. But I think, Berge could be an alright player. He's not a standout name, 100%. And I can understand why people have skepticism. But I try and think weirdly, I try and think like this. Hull City got relegated and Liverpool went and signed Robertson to be their left back. And look how that turned out. We signed Roy Keane when he got relegated. Michael Carrick got relegated in his career. I don't think because he's at Burnley and he's been relegated twice makes him a bad player. I think that there's better options, and I think that DM was such a priority because of the issues we had in midfield last season that we really did need to spend big on a DM. But if the market opportunity isn't there for the right player, and Ineos want to restore our reputation of not being a team that overpays, we have a position here to overpay on Agate, who still has a few. I like Agate, but there's definitely some concerns around the Agate signing on the ball qualities. The choice is overpay on Agate, like we always do, overpay on this player, or just go and get someone for a third of the price, or half the price. And I can understand why Ineos are doing that, because if we walk away from Branthwaite and we walk away from Agate this summer, going into next summer, I think it makes us stronger, because I think PSG and Everton it's Man United, we're going to ask for a higher fee. If we walk away from those two players that we agreed personal terms with, we were desperate to sign, and we signed alternatives, I think that sends a message and puts us in a stronger position next summer. I think it's also the difficult position we're in is re-establishing, our strength in the transfer window to negotiate our negotiating power. So I also think, I can understand it from a United perspective. We want to look better in the window as well. It's worth mentioning Pep was looking at Sander Berge. He definitely has quality. Yeah, Pep was. If Calvin Phillips leaves, Pep was looking at him as a sort of a backup to Rodri. So there's definitely quality in there, for sure. Fulham looked at him as a Palhinha replacement. Pep's looked at him. People are, there's definitely somewhere there. Berge is better than he painted out to be. His stats are good compared to other DMs we've been linked to, i.e. Agate. I see him as a step-up player who's ready for that bigger club. And look, on paper, there's better names out there than Sander Berge. Alex said rather loan Berge. If we could loan Sander Berge, that would be absolutely ideal. I think if we could loan Sander Berge, that would be ideal, because I think it's someone to get us through the season. But the way I see it is I look at the new regime. Ineos have come in, and I've always said, they're bringing the best-in-class people in. I'm going to let them do the recruitment, and I'm not going to be too negative about what they do. And I know it's quite easy to be negative at the moment, because we had two really good signings in the space of a week, and it's been frustrating. We can't say we can't buy. I can understand frustration. But how many times have we gone and got big names abroad? How many times have we gone and got these big name signings abroad that are really hyped, that we think are going to be amazing, the next big thing, and they come to United and they are shite? Falcao, for example, I remember that. It was coming to United, thought it was going to be amazing. Big name was shite. How many times have we signed these big name signings from abroad and they've been absolutely shite? So many times, I've lost count. So signing someone that is a smaller name, signing someone that is a bit like Rogue and cheaper could be smarter, because we always say, City got such a good deal with that. That was such good recruitment. Or Liverpool got such a good deal with that, such good recruitment. Liverpool got Robertson on the cheap, was Hull got relegated, and look what a good signing that was. Liverpool signed Wijnaldum from a Newcastle side that was fighting relegation. What a signing he was for them. You look at other signings, Man City signed players like John Stones from a low-down Everton side. He's been an unbelievable signing for them. You just look at business that has been done by Liverpool. Mane came from Southampton, Van Dijk came from Southampton, Salah came from Roma, Firmino came from a mid-table Hoffenheim. Wijnaldum came from a low-table Newcastle. You look at when Liverpool won the Champions League and Premier League and where the signings came from. Now, I'm not saying that Sander Berge is going to be the guy that's going to win us a Premier League and Champions League, but I think we have to remember this is something different. Big names abroad, those signings that we want, overpaying on the types of Agate may not work. We could get Agate and we could overpay for him, and he may just flop. And Ineos is sort of there with their recruitment experts. And Sander Berge has been a player that was looked at by Liverpool. He's on their DM list if they don't get Supermende. He's been looked at by Manchester City. He's been looked at by Fulham. He could be available for 25 million. What we know with Sander Berge is he's good on the ball. He's ready for that step up, and I think in a better team, he can become a better player. You look at how Rice is elevated from West Ham to Arsenal. Now, I'm not saying he's a Declan Rice player. I'm not saying that he's an unbelievable player, but he's good on the ball. He'll improve us in build-up. He's 6'4", which is going to improve the physical qualities of the squad, which is what we need. And he's very, very comfortable sort of in that DM role, despite playing as an 8 a lot last season. Burnley player of the season, Burnley player of the season. I don't think it's an awful deal. It's not the most exciting, but I just think of what we've done in the past and the mistakes we've made in the past with big name signings abroad. If Ineos look at this as an alternative, or let's not go big on Agate and spend for him, and we're going to go for someone like Berge, yeah, he might flop, he might be Weghorst, it might be bad, but it also might be something where actually we sit here in a year's time and say that was good business. Now, ideally a loan, as Alex mentioned, could be smarter, because if it doesn't work, we don't have to worry about selling him later on. Liverpool brought Endo in at work, they're probably going to sell him to Marseille, they're now going to bring in Supermende. But I do think that Sander Berge, when I've watched him play, I've never thought he was a bad player. When I've watched him play, I always thought he was a decent player. I really do. I actually made a video saying that if Newcastle want a bit of depth in midfield, they should look at Sander Berge. And Newcastle, look what they've got, richest owners in the world. They're building something, and that was said 6 months ago. So, yeah, I'm okay with it, but there are some good options out there. And look, for me, the most important thing we can do is sign a DM. Like, it sounds mad, but we need to sign a DM. Berge is 10 times the midfielder McTominay is, doesn't slide all the time like Casemiro, more accurate with long balls, and actually covers the defence and isn't found wanting. Exactly. And also with Sander Berge, he's had games in the Premier League where he's had over 100 touches. McTominay's had games in the Premier League where he's not even managed 14 touches. Sander Berge wants to get on the ball. McTominay hides from the ball. He can also play centre back as well, and a 6'5", good depth option for sure. Good at tackling. I mean, Sander Berge is either going to be a Schneiderlin or it's going to be one of the best bits of bargain business we've done. The problem is, can we afford to go into next season with a midfielder that becomes the next Schneiderlin? Probably not, because of the midfielders we have. It's a risk. But Ugarte is also a risk, because Ugarte didn't have a good season at PSG, isn't the best off the ball. It's one of those where, for me, we'd need Berge and Fofana, and I'll stick with that. We'd need Berge and Fofana, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. I'm just going to try and be positive as I can. I trust the recruitment side that Ineos have brought in. Well, it's been quiet, well, it's been negative, and I can understand why people are concerned. I can understand why people are getting annoyed and frustrated about the signings, about the lack of movement, the ins, the outs. I'm just trying to stay positive. The window's not over yet. Let's see what we do at the end of the window. Let's see what happens. And then at the end of the window, I'll give my honest thoughts. But let's dive into some more news. Let's dive into some more stories, because we've been talking about Sander Berge for a while, and there's quite a lot to talk about. So if you just joined, Man United apparently will make 3 more signings. Man United are confident that at least 2 new signings will be through the door. We're going to sign a midfielder even if sales do not happen. Now, Christian Eriksen was a player that Man United were trying to offload. In fact, Manchester United have let Christian Eriksen go on the cheap. They would accept deals of around 4 million to offload Eriksen. However, that being said, Christian Eriksen expects to see out the final year of his contract at the club. Now, Christian Eriksen's a player that I'd assume, if the right club came in, he'd probably take a wage cut because he wants the minutes. But we just don't seem to be getting any offers for Christian Eriksen whatsoever, despite him having a good Euros, despite him being a good player. And it might be due to the wages, that maybe he wants to spend another year at United on his wages. I don't know, but I'd assume, Christian Eriksen in interviews has said that he's open to leaving if there's minutes there. He wants minutes. So Christian Eriksen's one of those players that I think Christian Eriksen's one of those players that I think could leave if a club comes in for him. But Lutkos is saying there's a possibility he could stay as well. Liverpool are very close to signing Suba Mendes, the breaking news coming out. Todibo was signed by West Ham on loan, so could Ineos have a plan there? We'll talk about that. So West Ham has signed Todibo, but they've signed him on loan. So could this be Ineos' plan, give him a year of experience in the Premier League, sign him next year? I mean, if we sign Euro and Ligt, that are 2 right centre-backs, I think next year we'd go for a left centre-back. But Todibo's going to West Ham on loan, which is the interesting situation there as well. I don't understand why we haven't bid for Fofana. Milan only want 18 million euros. Milan only bid 18 million euros. I think we could get Yusuf Fofana for about 25 million pounds, and I think that's a really good bit of business. And we do have some updates on Yusuf Fofana, and I'm going to get into that in a second, so stay tuned. It was also said that Manchester United would be open to strengthening their attack if Jadon Sancho leaves. PSG have shown interest. So we know that if Sancho leaves, we will strengthen our attack, but we know that we're not going to let Sancho leave unless we get a good amount of money for him. So that's fair. So apparently, and this is said by good sources of information in Poland, that Hubert Graszak, probably said that wrong, is joining Manchester United on a free transfer. His contract with Arsenal FC ended in May. He will be the 4th choice keeper for United, and the rules regarding homegrown players in Britain work in his favour to fill that quota. So we've brought in this guy as a homegrown player. Now, I'm not going to act like I knew this player. I knew who Obi Martin was. I'm not going to act like we knew this player, but I've just seen Arsenal fans annoyed that 2 of their players have gone to United. He's a 4th choice keeper. It's not the most exciting signing in the world. It's a free transfer, but he's come from Arsenal. It's amazing. He's come from Arsenal. Arsenal in the mud. It's absolutely amazing. But at least that's a new addition there in the goalkeeping positions, because Bain Diaz had injury issues and Tom Heaton's had problems as well. Probably is better than Tom Heaton. Continuing on. Now, this was a report that came out, and this hasn't come out from the most reliable source, to be honest, but this is a story that's come out and is doing the rounds at the moment. What's your view on Gay? I think Gay is going to be a very good signing for Newcastle, and I'm probably going to do a video on that tonight or tomorrow on my second channel, so stay tuned for that. But going back to Hermoso, Manchester United have initiated official contact with free agent defender Mario Hermoso. Negotiations are in the initial phase. Hermoso is asking for a gross salary of 6 million and a 3-year contract. Now, with the defensive issues we've had at the back, Hermoso coming in on a 2-year contract to be 2-year contract on a free to be left centre-back cover is not the end of the world. Is he the best centre-back in the world? No. But is he someone that, is a good ball-playing centre-back that can play left centre-back, that if we get down to the position where we're going to have to put Casemiro at centre-back again, would we rather have Hermoso there, particularly because he can be a left centre-back? Probably. I mean, if it's a 2-year deal, showing that it's very short-term, and with the injuries we have at the back, I'm not against Hermoso. Like, he was good for Atletico Madrid. He was all right last season. He was nothing special. We're not going to act like he's a good player, but he's probably a bit better than Johnny Evans. Like, if I'm going to be honest, we're happy Johnny Evans came on because he ended up having a good season. But when Johnny Evans first came in, we're like, what are we doing? Johnny Evans in the free, it's a joke. But, as a short-term signing, just to give cover, Evans has done the job. And I think Hermoso's a better player than Evans. He's quite comfortable on the ball. He played in the Champions League for Atletico Madrid last year. It was really good for them in key games. It's got a good injury record. He's a left-footed centre-back that with a lot of experience. I think if you can get him on a 2-year contract, not 3-year contract, as cover, I don't think it's a bad deal. I think because, honestly, we might bring in Ligt, but I think we need someone that's going to provide the cover at left centre-back with the injuries he have. And him, Ligt and Euro would just give us centre-back depth as well. He's left-footed, so can be rotation with Martinez and can play left-back. And I think, considering the issues we've had in defence, particularly the left side of defence, we need Ligt still on top of this. But if we brought Ligt, Hermoso in and a DM in, at least we have some element of coverage in those key positions in the foundation of the squad. So this could be one to watch. I'm not against the signing. Is he someone you look at and think, oh, what a deal? Is he someone that we look at and think, brilliant? No. But is he someone that I would bring on top of Ligt? Yeah. He's free. He's a free agent. We went from promising talents to not awful players. And that is the worrying thing. But look, if we get this guy and not Ligt, what are we doing? But if we get Ligt and say, let's just get this guy late in the window as coverage, that's fine. That's what I mean. Like, you can't say this is a Ligt alternative or a Bamford alternative. That is a joke. But with the injuries we have, Ligt and Euro is the right centre-back. Maguire and Martinez is the left centre-back. But Maguire and Martinez are injury-prone. This guy and Evans can be the emergency option, so we're not having to play Casemiro at the back, because we need those emergency options, because we've only got 3 fit defenders in the whole squad. Johnny Evans, Sandro Martinez, and Delo are the only fit defenders in the whole squad. So I can get it as well. This whole Ligt being involved in a hit and run is absolute Daily Mail spin. Ligt apparently accidentally knocked a car and reversing out a car park, and it's not even known if Ligt noticed he knocked the car because it was so little. And the Daily Mail have spun it into Ligt doing a hit and run. I mean, because he's a Man United player. Let's continue on as well into the next story as well. So what else has been said? Manchester United plan to sign a new midfielder before the end of the transfer window, regardless of whether any other sales are completed before deadline day. Ideally, the club would want to bring in 2 midfielders before the end of August, but signing a second player in their position would depend on outgoings. So I covered this yesterday. News and information came out saying, regardless of sales, United will sign a new midfielder. Good. Bish, bash, bosh, because we need a new midfielder. We cannot go into next summer without a new midfielder. If we can sell a player, there can be 2 new midfielders. For me, it is McTominay out, we get 2 midfielders and Ligt. McTominay and Wan-Bissaka out, we get Mazraoui, Ligt, and 2 new midfielders. If we can somehow find a way to get McTominay and Wan-Bissaka out the door, I think we get Mazraoui, I think we get Ligt, I think we get 2 more midfielders, which could be Fofana and Berge. And I think Fofana, Berge, Mazraoui, Ligt puts us in a decent place going into next season. We're still a bit of work to do, but would put me in a position where I feel comfortable. Because right now, with the lack of movement happening and the squad we have and the injuries we have, I do not feel confident about Man City. I do not feel comfortable in the slightest. Now, what do we know about Fofana? What do we know about Berge? What do we know about the latest on our midfield plans? It said that Manchester United's interest in Fofana is now getting louder and louder, with Milan willing to wait a few more days before they make the final decision. So apparently, Milan have actually walked away from the Fofana deal, some sources say, and that United have opened talks with Monaco and United have presented an offer to Fofana. Apparently, Fofana's United's one to watch. Sky is saying that. A lot of Italian sources saying that. Not much has been said by Romano, Ornstein, or Whitwell. In fact, Laurie Whitwell has spoke about Sander Berge being the more likely, so I would say that Sander Berge is probably first choice. Fofana's probably second choice if we don't get Agate. I think Sander Berge is probably the deal that's closer. But Sander Berge and Fofana are definitely the ones to watch, especially knowing we want 2 midfielders and McTominay out. This could be what United do as the Agate alternative. I also think, do not rule Agate out. If Man United went and signed Agate, I would not be surprised. I do think if we make a bid for Sander Berge, or we get Ornstein dropping a bomber that Sander Berge to United is close, I do generally believe we'll be hearing some kind of news that PSG are lowering the Agate fee. Because PSG want to sell Agate, they have to sell Agate. And if he doesn't go to United, PSG will be thinking, where's he going to go? Because no team's going to pay the 50 million we want. The thing that might happen is we don't get Agate because we get 2 new midfielders instead. We were going to give PSG 42 million for Agate. PSG rejected our 42 million offer for Agate, and then PSG ended up selling Agate to 42 million elsewhere at the end of the window, when they could have just sold him to Man United for 42 million, but they got greedy. I think that PSG will be fuming. I think PSG, when they realise that Man United are not the Man United of the past, and that we'll walk away from Agate, because I think PSG expect us to come running back for Agate, because we've done that in the past for Anthony, we've done that in the past for other players. I think PSG think we're playing a game with this Sander Berge, Fofana stuff. I think they do. I think I think we're going to surprise PSG, and I think PSG are going to think shite and panic and lower the Agate fee. I don't think it's off. Fofana stomped on Arsenal's midfield last year. He's better than people think. Yeah, for me, I'm a massive fan of Youssouf Fofana. I've not watched lots of him, but when I've watched him play, he's been unbelievable. I think physically, he's what we need in the Premier League. In terms of his physicality, his ground coverage, his out of possession play, I think that he would be a fantastic signing for Manchester United. I think he suits the Premier League. I think he has elements of what Fred and Herrera brought, but he's more physically good. I really am a big fan of Youssouf Fofana, and I would love to see Youssouf Fofana at Manchester United. I really would. I mean, Youssouf Fofana and Berge, Mazraoui and Ligt, that's 4 signings I can get behind, but McTominay and Wan-Bissaka have to go for that to happen, and we just got to hope that they go as well. Agate is good for the right price, but can't overpay either. Like, I like Agate, but he's not worth more than £42 million, and I don't care if we walk away. If, we were going to get him for 40 million, I'd say pay the money, but I don't care that we're walking away, because we're not giving PSG exactly what they paid for him a week later. Fofana is probably more of an 8, but he can play as a 6 in the dual pivot. He's not someone that you can play as a lone 6, but you could play him with Maino in the dual pivot, and I think it would work well. It was also said that there's some indications from people around Sander Berge to the potential to transfer to United moving forward. Inside the Sander Berge transfer front, it does look like him to Manchester United is moving forward. That deal is definitely one to keep an eye on. That deal is definitely advancing in regards to potentially Sander Berge. But I think if we do bring the midfielder, it's probably going to be Fofana or Berge or Agate. Now, in terms of defence, it was said a deal for Bayern Munich right back Mazraoui is contingent on the intended sale of Wan-Bissaka to West Ham. Wan-Bissaka's representatives remain to talk about personal terms. There is an expectation that Wan-Bissaka to West Ham will be done. He's just playing up because of the money. West Ham have got all these other deals done. They want to focus on getting Wan-Bissaka done. There's an expectation it will be done. It was also said as well that, Mazraoui depends on Wan-Bissaka, but De Ligt doesn't. De Ligt is separate of that, and I think United are looking to sign De Ligt dependent on sales. I think United could get De Ligt and Berge even if we don't sell anyone, but I think bringing Fofana and Mazraoui in on top of that, we'd have to sell McTominay and Wan-Bissaka. I think the most we could probably do is about £60 million without any further sales, because of just we've got 27 million in pure profit for Mason Greenwood, or 26 million. We've got 30 million a year wages saved with Varane and Martial. We did bring in some more money than people think. We've got 10 million for Kabwala, 6 million for Alvaro Fernandez, a couple million saved here on young players as well. So I do think that we could maybe get De Ligt and Berge without any sales, but I think that's the best we can do. And it was said that United are confident that they can still get 2 more signings over the line, dependent on sales. They ideally want 3 or 4 signings, but that would depend on sales. But there is a feeling United can get 2 signings over the line, dependent on sales. Guys, please do hit that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new to the channel. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, make sure you're subscribed to Alice Talks Football, as I do go live every single evening and every single morning, keeping you guys up to date on the news. And then I do a late night show where if you can't tune into the live shows, you don't have time to tune into the live shows, and you just want all the news wrapped up in a 10-minute bulletin show from the day, I also do the 10-minute roundup in the evening, and then I do 2 live shows throughout the day to discuss all the news, just discuss all the rumours surrounding Manchester United as well. Let Ineos do their job. You know what? At the end of the day, it's frustrating. I can understand people getting worried. I can understand doubt. I can understand negativity. But until the window's over, I'm just going to be as positive as I can. And when the window's over, if I'm disappointed, I'll be honest and I'll say I'm disappointed as well. Gay would be a great signing for Newcastle, wouldn't it? It'd be unbelievable signing as well. No one's in for Fofana, no one, only United fans hyping the guy. I mean, AC Milan agreed personal terms with him. Arsenal were monitoring him. West Ham made an offer, but he rejected West Ham, and look what West Ham are doing in the window. They're bringing in good players. There's a lot of interest in Fofana as well. What is the news, Alice? So let me just round up this news quickly. So Manchester United want to make at least 3 new signings. There's a confidence that United will bring in 2 players, even though we're not selling anyone, but we're not going to overpay for Ligt or Agate. La-di-da. Eriksen looks like he's going to see out the final of his contract. Sancho is up for sale. PSG has shown interest. If Sancho is sold, we'll sign an attacker. We've signed a new goalkeeper from Arsenal. I don't know who he is, but let's pretend he's amazing. New centre-back, Hermoso, could be someone that comes into United on a short-term basis. He's available on a free. Could be someone that United look at as a free agent. I think salary, if we can get it down a little bit and get it on a 2-year contract, I'm okay with that for depth. But not as an alternative to De Ligt or Braithwaite, you have to get De Ligt. You can't bring him in and say that's a second centre-back signing, not at all. In terms of midfielder, I think Man United will plan to sign a new midfielder, even if we don't sell anyone. There will be a new midfielder coming in. The plan is to bring in 2 midfielders, but that depends on McTominay. If McTominay is sold, I think it's Berge and Fofana. If McTominay isn't sold, I think it's one of Berge and Fofana. The interest is getting louder in Fofana, but there seems to be indications that the Berge deal is moving ahead. Masraoui is very dependent on Wan-Bissaka, but De Ligt isn't. There's an expectation the Wan-Bissaka deal could still go ahead. And then Anthony spoke out, he's saying he's staying at United, he's ready to stay at United, prove people wrong. Obviously, he didn't like that Ten Hag asked him to play at left back because he wants to play forward and influence the game. But Anthony did an interview to say that he is staying at Man United. So that is sort of an update on all the latest news coming in today as well. Subamende is travelling with Sociedad. The Subamende to Liverpool saga is an interesting one because Sociedad are begging him to stay, but I think he could be really interested in joining Liverpool. So I think that's one to watch. Hopefully he stays at Sociedad. I don't want to see Subamende in a Liverpool shirt. He'd be a great signing for them, but we'll have to wait and see. But listen, people, I only wanted to keep the show to about half an hour. I wanted it to be short, informing. I will be back about 5 p.m. tonight, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the post notification bell on because I'll be live sometime between 4:30 and 5:30 tonight or earlier if breaking news drops. But thank you for watching today's show. Please do hit the like button. Please do subscribe if you're new. See you next time. Bye.